Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight, our very first community meeting for our De La Cruz Boulevard, Coleman Avenue Bikeway Planning Study. My name is Carol Chariot, and I am the project manager for this project. Next slide. I wanted to do some brief introductions. Once again, I'm Carol Chariot, and I am the principal transportation planner here at the City of Santa Clara. Other folks that are assisting me within the city on this project is Ralph Garcia, our senior civil engineer, and Michael Liu, our public works director. I also have here with me tonight Kimley Horn, which is our consultant helping us on this project. I have Naomi Willis, and then also Adam Dankberg. Next slide. And so what will we be talking about tonight? So first we'll go over the project purpose and process. So why exactly are we studying these two corridors? And then what's the process and the approach and methodology to be able to complete this project? Then secondly, we'll look at existing conditions along the two corridors today and what those look like. Then thirdly, we really want to hear what your vision is for these two corridors and how to best implement bike lanes on those two corridors. And then we'll also look at next steps. So what will happen after we finish this community meeting? And then finally, we want to have a robust question and answer session with you. Next slide. And then from here, I'd like to pass it on to Naomi.
Thank you so much, Carol, and thank you all for joining us here tonight. We're really excited to be here with you virtually to chat about the De La Cruz and Coleman Ave Bike Study Project. So to begin with, the project purpose and process. So why are we here? The big question. So to summarize, the city received Measure B grant funding to conduct a transportation study focused on ways to improve bicycle connections on De La Cruz Boulevard and Coleman Avenue, working towards implementing the projects contained in the city's bicycle master plan. So our goal is really to figure out how can we best create comfortable and safe bike facilities on De La Cruz Boulevard and Coleman Avenue. And so this process is just the beginning of starting that process. It's coming up with a plan on how we want to move forward with this project. So a quick overview of our project study area. The study limits include De La Cruz Boulevard from Central Expressway all the way over to Lafayette Street and Coleman Avenue from De La Cruz Boulevard to Brokaw Road. This project also passes through the tri-level. At the northern end of the project, we plan to tie into VTA's US 101 Trimble Road Interchange project. So this project is in construction, as I'm sure you've all seen and experienced. And our hope is to tie into the proposed bike path that's part of this project. A few more details behind our project purpose. So our goal is to create this corridor is a high priority corridor in both the city and county bicycle plans. This project helps implement the city's Complete Streets policy. It helps achieve the goals of the city's climate action plan. And our ultimate purpose is to enhance the safety and comfort for all. So in order to meet the project purpose, we have some more specific project goals. So this project seeks to install Class 4 bicycle lanes on De La Cruz and Coleman. These are protected bicycle lanes or separated bicycle lanes. So some sort of vertical delineation or separation between the traveled way and the bike facility. The reason for this is for the higher speeds and volumes on these roadways. We want to help create streets for everyone, no matter who they are or how they choose to travel. To do this, we want to provide convenient, comfortable, and connected transportation choices. So creating a more connected transportation network for people who are biking or choosing alternative modes of transportation. And to do all of this, we really want to understand the context and community character. These are really essential for creating a project that will fit the needs of the community and fit the needs of this specific neighborhood. So how are we going to get here? This is a quick overview of our planned process. So we are currently in phase 1 where we are gathering information. So we're doing this a couple different ways. We're collecting data. We are doing community surveys. We're doing some outreach events like the one tonight. So our goal is to just find out more from the people who know the most about their community, you. So we're really excited to be here and starting this process. In phase 2, using the data and the feedback that we get and gather in phase 1, we'll develop and share concept alternatives and have another round of community workshops. In phase 3, we hope to identify the preferred alternative and again have one more community workshop round. In phase 4, we'll present the preferred alternatives for City Council review and consideration. This is another overview of that project process in schedule form. So as you can see, we are here, this community outreach and BPAC round 1, the spring of 2023. We'll move on to community outreach round 2 this summer to fall, where we'll develop and share those concept alternatives. And then round 3 in early 2024, culminating with our final City Council review in the first half of next year. So how are we going to get there? We really want to note that our proposed recommendations will consider public input and existing conditions, opportunities, and constraints. So right now we're finding out all about those existing conditions, finding out what the community needs, and we're going to take all of those into consideration as we develop our concepts. We want to evaluate removing on-street parking in order to install the bicycle lanes on the roadway. So right now, there are some portions of potentially underutilized parking along these corridors that we're looking at repurposing to provide the proposed bike facility. So just trying to figure out how can we make this all fit? How can we make this work? So we haven't begun fully evaluating options, but we are analyzing parking as part of this process, and it is one of the considerations. So diving into this project approach a little bit more. So as we mentioned, we're collecting data. This is really looking at what the parking conditions are like today, as well as looking at collision history over the last 5 years. So we can understand if there's any areas where we can look to see if there's any patterns in collisions and how we can help resolve those. We want to seek and record community input, and we're going to do this throughout the process. So there's multiple opportunities for people to speak up and have their voice be heard and incorporated into this project. We plan to share this feedback with the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, also known as BPAC, as well as City Council. All of this input and data will help inform our conceptual roadway design. And then those conceptual roadway design, the analysis, and the various feedback that we get will all go into a final project report. This plan will be presented to the council. So it will summarize all the information that we've gotten so far and why we're making the recommendations that we are. We'd also like to note that City Council will decide if and how the plan moves forward. There's currently no funding dedicated to the design or building of any options right now. So the study area today. As you are likely aware, the project study area is at the eastern half of the city of Santa Clara. It's just west of the San Jose Airport. Currently, De La Cruz Boulevard and Coleman Avenue are 6-lane roadways with around a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit. So it's a little bit scary to bike out there today. This project hopes to fix that. The project area also goes through the tri-level. We're really trying to connect from end to end. So looking at ways that we can create those connections across the study area to help people get from point A to point B, as well as the broader region. This is a super important area to the community, your community. We're right next to the BART Santa Clara station, the San Jose Airport, several parks, the Costco, and other key community destinations. So the question we're really trying to answer is how can we provide a safe and comfortable bicycle connection? These are a few photos highlighting the corridor context. So you can see we do have some wider roadways where there's potentially extra area that we can utilize to create safer bicycle connections. wider roadways, wide intersections. This area is currently really designed for higher speed automobile travel. And so we want to see if there's other ways we can get multimodal transportation options in the area for everyone. So right now we are going to move on to your vision and next steps. So this is where hopefully it gets a little fun. We want to hear from you. So this will be a live survey. Let me share my other screen. Sorry. All right, hopefully you can all see this website. So this is wooclap.com, and we're providing 3 options for you to log in if you would like to participate in the live survey. We hope you do. We'd really love to hear from you. So to access, you can either scan the QR code, go to wooclap.com on your phone or computer, and enter in the event code De La Cruz, or you can text at De La Cruz to 855-910-9662. And we'll give people just a minute longer to try and log on. Looks like we have 3 participants so far. Please also feel free to reach out in the Q&A chat box if you have any questions or if you are having a hard time logging on, and we'll see if we can help troubleshoot with you. All right. With that, I'm going to get this started. So our first question should hopefully be up on your phone now. You can respond to the answer that applies to you most or multiple answers. So we'd like to know what best describes your connection to this area of Santa Clara. Please feel free to choose all that apply. So I live along or near the area. I work or volunteer along or near the area. I'm a student. My child attends a school. I shop or visit social or recreational destinations, or I travel through the corridor with a destination outside of the area. Looks like we have 3 of the 5 participants, so we'll just give this another few seconds. So awesome, it looks like several of you live along or near the area, so we're so happy to have you here and hear from you. Also, yes, recognize there's a lot of destinations within this area. And it is a key corridor connection to the rest of the community. We're going to move on to the next question. If you travel in this area, what is your primary mode of travel? So drive alone, carpool with others, bicycle or scooter, bus or paratransit, walk, or I don't travel in the area. Oh, and it looks like Diane, you just posted that you didn't get the question. Let's see if we can help resolve this. So while everyone else answers, we're going to see if we can also help Diane instead. Thanks, Robert. I love it. We have a variety of transportation options through the area. And then just one more note real quick before we move on to the next question. We would love to hear from you today through this live survey, but these questions are also available to answer as part of the broader community survey. So there are other opportunities to respond to this, either through the online survey or through email. So yes, we want to hear from you however we can. And so we have multiple options if for some reason the technology is not working out right now. Right, I'm going to move on to the next question. I love it. Thank you guys for showing up. It's great that you bike through this area. We're so excited to hear from you on how we can make this more comfortable. Right, our next question. If there were better bicycle facilities in this area, how often would you consider riding a bike? Awesome. So it sounds like better bicycle facilities would help many of you feel more comfortable choosing to bike through this area more often. And then our last question for our live poll today. What would most encourage you to bicycle on De La Cruz and Coleman Avenue? For this one, you can choose all that apply. So our first option, continuous bike lanes. So bike lanes that connect all the way from point A to point B. Striped bike lanes, so just a regular striped bike lane. A buffered bike lane, or also known as a bike lane with striped separation from traffic lanes. Bike lanes with a raised barrier to help separate them from traffic lanes. So this is something separated. Improving opportunities to combine biking and public transit trips. More motorist outreach and public bicycling awareness. Better enforcement of speeds, distracted, or aggressive driving in the area. Or more convenient and available bicycle parking, or none of the above. Got some great answers through here, thank you. So the biggest one it looks like is really just continuous bike lane. So making sure that it's a more continuous facility to get you from point A to point B. Well, this is great. Thank you all. This is the end of our live poll. So let me bring back up our presentation and we can help wrap it up. So to go over our next steps briefly and keep you all in the loop about what we are proposing. So we're going to review all of the feedback we received through the community surveys, through the slide poll. We're going to analyze parking data and collision history to help us get a better understanding of the corridor today. And then using all this information, we plan to develop conceptual design options. After this, we'll go to the BPAC, go to an additional BPAC meeting where we'll present these conceptual design options and then head out into our second round of community engagement to begin presenting these concepts. So we'd love for you to stay involved. It sounds like many of you are already signed up on the mailing list, but a few more ways to stay involved throughout the process. So you can take the survey. The survey will close Friday, June 2nd. So if you could take it within the next 2 weeks, that would be fantastic. Share it with your friends, your colleagues. We just want to hear from everybody who's interested in improving biking in this area or who's invested in this area. Feel free to send us an email, call and leave us a voice message, and then hopefully we'll see you at future community meetings. Here's the information for the community survey. It can be found on the project website, so santaclaraca.ca.gov/bike and ped project, or is accessible through this QR code. It's pretty quick, similar questions to what we asked tonight, but with a little bit more detail and opportunity to share your thoughts. And finally, thank you all for being here. We'll now be moving into our question and answer session portion of the night. So we'll take a look at the questions that we received through the chat under the Q&A, where you can also begin to raise your hand and we'll get to those questions after the chat box Q&A. Thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Hey Naomi, so we have 2 comments from the Q&A box. One was sent during one of the interactive activities. The first is traffic speeds are a lot more, are more than just enforcement. Is there also any opportunity to incorporate traffic calming features?
That's a great question. So at this point in time, our main priority is increasing protection around bicycle facilities and then providing separation potentially at intersections to minimize crossovers between people biking and people driving. as they approach an intersection or any potential conflict point. So looking for ways to either eliminate the potential conflict points or reduce any chance of conflict at those conflict points. And so that could include potentially traffic calming at the intersection as people get ready to potentially cross paths. Carol or Adam, do you have more to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say that, this project mainly entails, as Naomi said, really looking at the ways to be able to incorporate bike lanes along these facilities. So at this time, the scope of work does not include traffic calming, but that can certainly be looked at separately and aside from this project.
Thank you.
All right, we have one more from the Q&A box, and I see we have our first raised hand. So from the Q&A box, what is the status of other ongoing work on this stretch, especially the triple crossing? I know there was some paving work over the bridges a while back and some work more recently in conjunction with Caltrain electrification.
And Carol, I'll have you respond to this one.
Yeah, I think this one will have to definitely get back to you, but we definitely try to look at incorporate other projects and make sure that we're aware of all the projects within the area. As we said, one of the projects that we're really focusing on is that US 101 Trimble interchange project just to the north of our project. As we understand, they are going to be putting a class 1 bike path as part of that project. And it seems that as we asked, VTA is actually the managing that project. And they seem to say that in, I think, Naomi, do you remember when they were actually going to complete the bike path?
I believe it was August of 2024.
Yeah, so we definitely are excited for that project to finish, and hopefully at some point this project can do the design and construction and continue their bike path.
Do we want to go to Hector, then come back to the Q&A box?
I think that'd be great, yeah.
All right, sure. So Hector, let's go ahead, unmute yourself and go ahead and ask a question.
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Great. Hi, thanks so much for the invitation. Two questions. Number one, when I look at the I guess the map of where we start and where we end, right, in De La Cruz, it goes by the Larry Marsali Park. Is there a consideration for putting bike stations, public bike stations, right, where you can fix your bike at parks? And Larry Marsali will be one of those, could be one of those. You sometimes get punctures, and if you knew that there was such a station there, you would just walk your bike to that area, as opposed to sitting on the sidewalk and trying to fix your bike. So perhaps not, but this would be this is something. This will be a proposal for the city to consider putting such stations at the parks, right? And in particular for the De La Cruz Boulevard, that could be a possibility.
Yes, Hector, actually, I believe that our bike plan update that was done quite a few years ago, we looked at something like this in terms of, where could we at least include new bike parking? And this is definitely something we can take a look at, but most likely not part of this project, but definitely as part of our bike plan update.
Sorry, Carol, I didn't mean parking. I meant a place where you can fix your bike, right? There's this, there's a bike stands. You race your bike, and the stands also provide a pump and pump and tools that are attached to the stand so that you can work on your bike. Is that what yeah.
Yes, exactly. I would think that's more of something that we can look at as part of, as we're completing our bike plan update project, all the projects in the bike plan update. That is definitely something we can look at to try to do, most likely separate from this project.
Okay, yeah. And my second question is, we can see here that the De La Cruz, I guess, is on the east side, ends up at Central Expressway. Is the end goal to make it all the way to Guadalupe River eventually?
Well, as it crosses, if you continue past Central Expressway, that actually ends up going into the city of San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something we would have to work with the city of San Jose to ensure that, you can get all the way to the Guadalupe crossing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add the once you get past Central Expressway, that's where the VTA Trimble interchange project will be constructing a path on the west side of De La Cruz. We'll have to double check on the northern limit of that project, but that certainly extends at least through the interchange. Yeah, we can check though if that'll get all the way to the river trail connection.
Thank you. I guess yeah, the hard part there is going on. Either you go above 101 if you stayed on De La Cruz, or the other option is to go underneath 101, but that's farther. That's when you go on around the airport on Everett Road.
Yeah, and I just pulled up some information from the VTA project. So the shared use path on the west side, it'll be grade separated for the off ramps for 101. I guess it'd be the southbound off and on ramp, and then looks like it may cross that grade for the northbound on ramp, and then it continues along Trimble to connect to the Guadalupe River Trail. So
okay.
So basically the idea is that if we are able to accommodate something on De La Cruz south of Central, that would provide that continuous connection.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much for that update. That's it.
Great, thank you, Hector.
Okay, we have a couple more questions in the Q&A box. The first one, what's the plans for connecting these bike lanes with the ones that are planned on Benton?
At this point, we just have the funding, for De La Cruz and Coleman, and we are in the process of, as you said, there's other projects along Benton. We have Walsh Martin, and we're trying our best to get funding as quickly as we can, mainly through grants that we're ultimately hoping to, implement all the projects in our bike plan. And so one day we would love for all these bike projects to be connected. And so as soon as we get available funding, we'll continue to build these bike lanes and get a robust bikeway facilities within Santa Clara.
Okay, and the last question we have right now is there any proposal or concept on the triple crossing yet? I see at least 6 potential conflict points, and I've been across a couple of times on a bike. There's a left exit from Coleman westbound onto El Camino. There was a picture of it previously in the presentation. That requires getting across three busy lanes to go that way.
That's a great question. So we haven't begun concept development yet. Right now, we're really in the information gathering stage. We're getting ready to go into concept development and beginning to look at how we can approach the tri-level, any alternative solutions to help get people from point A to point B through this area. So it's something that we are excited to dive into and begin looking at more. And Carol or Adam, please add on to that if you have anything else you'd like to chime in with.
Yeah, I'll just say that we certainly recognize it's a really tricky area, as the question alludes to. There's free ramps and high-speed movements everywhere, and so it's something that there's not going to be an easy solution to, no question. But yeah, no solutions yet, and we hope to be back with this with you all in a few months with some ideas to get some further input on.
We have another raised hand from Hector again. I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
do you hear me?
Yes, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. There is the option of going, rather than going through the tri-level, there's the option of going on Reed Street, right? And you can go, you can take Lafayette and go over the train tracks on Lafayette, then go on Reed Street, and that puts you in De La Cruz. That's a lot easier than using the tri-level. So, you know, are these options that are being explored, and what will be the you know, as the city considers all these different options, how are they they all cost a lot of money. How will each one of them be prioritized?
Well, I think first off, we'll have Kimley Horn help us to show, you know, all the issues that may come up. Well, in terms of, say, if we have to remove parking or not, and where do we need to remove parking to build these bike lanes? You know, what are the best alternatives? They're actually going to develop 3 alternatives for us, for the community and city council to consider. And they'll also put together, you know, trade-offs and for each of the 3 projects. So hopefully based off of, you know, any measures, performance measures that we'll look at as part of this project, hopefully a clear preferred alternative will come up, you know, the 3 concepts. Because ultimately we would like to be able to present council, you know, these are the alternatives, you know, these are how, you know, the community and our bike and ped ranked the alternatives. We definitely want to show council what's the preferred alternative. And, you know, these are the trade-offs, these are the performance measures, and this is how we ultimately came about, you know, a preferred alternative. And we definitely understand that, you know, each alternative will cost, you know, a certain amount of money. So we also have to take that into consideration as well, and hopefully be able to present to council what that cost would be.
Okay. I guess one point of feedback is perhaps you know, when we're asked the questions, what would it take for you to use X or Y bike route? You know, rather maybe the question should be safety, as opposed to trying to get from point A to point B the fastest route, right? If I know that a point from A to B, it's slow but it's safe, I definitely would take that over, you know, going over the tri-way. You know, just something to take into consideration.
And yes, Hector, that is a very good point. Actually, you know, Kimley Horn will be doing a safety analysis and basing it on our, you know, any collision data that the city has within the past, you know, 3 to 4 years. So that will definitely help shape how they will come up with the 3 alternatives.
Okay. When I'm riding the bike, you know, I'm never thinking, oh, I need to get it to some point in, you know, fast. I'm always thinking, you know, if I'm riding the bike, I just want to make sure I get there in the safest way possible. So anyways, that's just my take on it. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much for those questions. Anything else, Ben? You see?
There's nothing else in the Q&A box, but if anyone has any other questions like they like to add, oh, one just popped in. Two just popped in. I'm going to follow up one to Hector's point. The Lafayette undercrossing has no space for bicycles, and the pedestrian overcrossing is an Ord-style corkscrew that's hard to use. And then another, I'm just hoping that the Benton connection can be implemented, as Benton to De La Cruz to Coyote would cut my commute distance by about 3/4 or 3. So.
Yes, and I would like to say, you know, as part of that question, in terms of, you know, would it connect to Benton? There are other bike projects that were either that will be done as part of development crossings. So there is the Coleman Gateways project that is near Coleman and Brokaw, near Costco. And that project will actually add class 2 bike lanes. I guess I would call it south of the Coleman Brokaw intersection, which should connect with existing bike lanes on Coleman within the city of San Jose. And as part of the Gateway Crossings project, there will be class 2 bike lanes on Brokaw Road. I would say west of Coleman. So definitely, hopefully there'll be, you know, definitely connections that will get you from, you know, this project, which will go down to Brokaw. You could then go west onto the new class 2 bike lanes that will be built as part of the Coleman Gateway Crossings project, and then hopefully be able to get you, if you take the tunnel underneath, to get to the other side of Benton.
If anyone else has any other questions, again, feel free to put them in the box or raise your hand.
Okay, I don't think we have any other questions. And if that's the case, then I think we can end. But definitely, if anybody has any further questions, feel free. As you can see here, once again, we have a dedicated email address. You can leave a voicemail at this phone number at any time. And please stay connected with this project as I try to update the project webpage. Anytime we have any type of community meetings, or I'll also be posting the recording of this session on the project's webpage. And definitely, if you would like to stay involved, please feel free to email us and let us know, and we'll make sure and add you to our email distribution list. And so I would definitely like to thank you all for taking some time out of your busy day and joining us and hearing about this really great and exciting project. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining.